Welcome, everybody. The big game is here again, and this is Betting the Big Game with me, Brent Musburger. You know, 55 years ago, I was a young newspaper reporter for Chicago's American, and the big game was upon us. They didn't even call it the Super Bowl, year one, but the Kansas City Chiefs, coached by Hank Stram, qualified to take on the Green Bay Packers, coached by the legend himself, Mr. Vincent Lombardi. Now, the Packers were a heavy favorite in that first game, and Lombardi felt enormous pressure on behalf of the NFL to beat the fledgling AFL. So as the week progressed leading up to the game, we never got to interview any Packer or St. Vincent himself. He took the team up to Santa Barbara and locked them down. But on the other hand, Mr. Hank Stram, he was available 24/7. Those Chiefs, they worked out in Long Beach, California, and we were even able to watch practice leading up to that first game. Now, it's interesting, when you look back historically, there was no over-under number on that first game. That's right. The bookmakers did not put out an over-under game on the Super Bowl until Game 2. And you all know Green Bay won the first two. They put up 35 on Kansas City, beat them 35-10, complete domination. But let me tell you a little anecdote that not many people know about. In that first Super Bowl, there were two networks televising the game. Remember now, CBS did all the NFL, NBC did the AFL, okay? So there were two trucks, two sets of broadcasters going forward. End of the first half, okay? They both go to commercial. But NBC was slow coming out of commercial to start the second half. CBS had control of the game, all right? Ball was in the air, kickoff was returned, and suddenly there came a flag. They did it over so that NBC could have clean coverage of the second half kickoff. That's how primitive things were back in that particular day. As a matter of fact, then Commissioner Pete Rozelle, he was giving away tickets, okay? I've still got a couple of tickets that weren't used. I think they were about $12.50, the Los Angeles Coliseum, and I will never forget it. Max McGee was out until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the Packers lost one of their starting wide receivers, and Max got shoved into the lineup. He had one of the greatest days he ever had as a Green Bay Packer. There are so many wonderful stories through the years with the Super Bowl. Now, here at VSiN, we came to Las Vegas 5 years ago, and our opening big game was the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots, and I was all pumped up. I gave everybody the Atlanta Falcons. Brent was all over that game. This is a can't miss, folks. Take it to the bank. Borrow money. You got to bet it all in on the Falcons. Well, 28-3, I'm starting to spend my cash. You know what I mean? And then came one of the greatest collapses in the history of Super Bowl history. New England 34-28. Amazing. But what's even more amazing about that game is think about who the starting quarterback was for the New England Patriots. Oh, yes, one Mr. Tom Brady. And now he's with us this year as the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, Tom played in 3 consecutive Super Bowls for VSiN, all right? Lost to Philadelphia. It was a great game. And don't ever overlook the fact that Tom Brady threw for 500 yards against the Eagles. He averaged 10 yards per pass attempt, okay? Pros don't look at raw yardage. They look at yards per pass attempt. Coaches for the last 30 years have studied that statistic. So there he was, Tom Brady, and now Kansas City with young Patrick Mahomes comes in. They're the defending Super Bowl champion to take on the ageless wonder, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've got so many angles, and our experts at VSiN are coming up to tell you who do they like in the big game. That's coming up next. Welcome back to VSiN's Betting the Big Game. You know, one thing that you must wager on during a Super Bowl are some of the propositions that are put out. I have a lot of friends, they would never miss betting the coin flip, okay? Heads or tails, all right? That gives them action before the big game is underway. So we're going to hear from Gill Alexander, Matt Brown, and Danielle Alvari from Primetime Action on some of these player props. And notice on the half of the screen, you will see all of the various, there's hundreds of them. There's hundreds of props. Let's go to Gill.
The Chiefs, New England Patriots. Chiefs favored by 3 with extra juice. But, of course, the cottage industry that we've talked about already on the show is Super Bowl props. People love talking about Super Bowl props. Danielle, we have player props to discuss.
Yeah, why don't we kick it off with passing props? Patrick Mahomes is sitting at 325.5 with the over and the under both at minus 112 right now. So just starting with that one, first thoughts.
So I tried to do just some gross and dirty projections here over the last
gross and dirty.
Yeah, over the last little bit.
Because it's early for props, right?
It's early for us here in Vegas, right? Because the most shops aren't going to release these numbers until the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And so, but I mean, slightly into the over, but not enough to really make a bet. I have like 333.5 as opposed to 325.5. And then Brady at 298.5, so only a 3-yard difference. So a very, very slight edge to the over for both guys. That also has my bias into how I think the game is going to go as well, which is I think there'll be a lot of a decent amount of back and forth in this game. I know that the Bucs defense has shown up fairly well, the last couple of weeks or something, but this is just a different animal. I mean, you got Drew Brees with. Well, how many did his wife say he played with 53 injuries? So
give or take.
Different injuries.
Plus or minus.
So, you get that, and then you were able to get, again, like we kind of previewed whenever we were talking about that Packers game as well. We're like, if you can shut down or at least limit Devontae Adams and then get some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that you could see kind of a repeat of that Week 6 game, which has ended up what happened. But that's just a different scenario here with this one with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, like, this guy is so good at reading blitzes, he's so good at escaping pressure, and I think if they gamble too much with the blitz on him, it would be way over this number. I'm being fairly fairly conservative with this, but I mean, if they play that heavy blitz and he's able to just get rid of the ball and shoot it out to exactly where the blitz came from and get the ball into to Tyreek Hill in open field, and also Travis Kelce just in stuff over the middle. I mean, I think it could go way over this, but I'll say conservatively lean to the over.
Is that why also on that Patrick Mahomes touchdown passes at 2.5, the over slightly juiced at minus 130?
And the other thing is they just don't run the ball when they get down into the red zone, right? Like we saw even last week, they get down there, they're on the 1-yard line. He does a little underhand shovel pass to Kelce, right? I mean, like they just don't run the ball, in that area. They'll do the little kind of like jet sweep pass things and whatever, and all the little trick plays and stuff when they get down into the red zone. So it's just, whereas you have to try to build in to a lot of these numbers that want, so many what's Kelly? What was your prop that lost on the very first? You went with the over 1.5 yards, like in a game we had earlier this year, and it lost on the very first touchdown or something like that, wasn't it?
It was the national championship game.
Yeah, the shortest touchdown or something like that.
The shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards.
And the very first touchdown was the 1-yarder. Yeah. So many times, that you just have to account for those being, because those happen way more than you think. That'll be another prop that will be offered that we'll talk about later on.
I thought you were referring to the Cody Bellinger bet. What was that?
Yeah, that was great.
World Series. What was that?
That was under a half RBI, I think, right? And then he hit the home run.
Shoulder injury. Yeah. Shoulder's fine.
Shoulder's fine. After the season, it wasn't fine though. But for that game, it was.
With the touchdown passes prop though, and again, this coming from a guy who has Chiefs futures and is backing the Chiefs in this game -3.
Yep.
The Tom Brady 2.5 is interesting to me because the over is plus 150.
Yeah.
That implies a 40% probability. So the break even on that is very simple. It's 4 out of 10. 2 out of 5 games. To break even on that, Tom Brady would have to throw 3 touchdown passes. I kind of like the over plus 150.
Right?
It'd be an over or pass for me. Again, I mean, the kind of the same deal here, right? I mean, outside of getting to the actual 1-yard line, which we know will equal a Tom Brady sneak.
Yes.
Outside of that, they're not very run heavy in the red zone either, right? I mean, they take advantage of those big bodied receivers. You know, that's where they can use Gronk. That's where they can use the size advantage of Mike Evans and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, outside of getting literally to the 1 yard line, which we know it's coming at that point, yeah, they're not going to run from the 4. You know, like they're not going to run from the 4 that often.
Something that's jumping out to me here, the interceptions prop, right? Because last week versus the Packers, Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions. Now you see that over juice to -155. Do you think that's appropriate pricing? What do you think? Do you think it's even worth looking at?
I mean, you're always playing the over. You're never really playing the under in this, and especially with the way he's playing.
What a horrible bet to sit through if you had the under. Don't do it, Tom.
You know, I mean, I think most projection systems would probably project him at over a half over a half of an interception at this point, like probably closer to 0.75, maybe 0.8, something like that. But you know, I mean, it depends on what game plan they deploy as well. I mean, he might dink and dunk all the way down the field or something like that and try to go that route. But I mean, it'd be an over or pass for sure. On the interceptions, you're never playing the under, especially with as inaccurate as we saw him last week. You know, not only inaccurate, but he got fooled a couple of times as well, which you don't see with Tom Brady very often.
Right. Even the one to Evans over the middle, where it was like, oh, Evans should have had that. No, he shouldn't have. It was high.
No.
He jumped as high as he could and it went off his fingertips. I mean, like that. There was no Evans.
Trust
should
me,
have had
that was a debate I had during the game with somebody too. I'm like, no, he shouldn't have. Bad pass.
Yeah.
So expecting a pass-heavy game, then should we take a look at the rushing props, though?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Let's fire 'em up.
So taking a look at the rushing props, I believe we have Leonard Fournette at 51.5. The over at -115, under at -125, and then rushing yards head to head. We have Leonard Fournette and Darrell Williams. Is it Darrell?
Darrell. Yeah.
All right. 1-0. Darrell, 1-0. Leonard Fournette at -165, so obviously the favorite there, and Williams at +120.
Should Fournette be higher than that?
The problem with the rushing yards with this one now is with the full 2 weeks to get Ronald Jones back healthy, do they kind of go back to that full-on 50-50 split thing that they were doing when they had both of these guys? So like I think what we saw last week with Fournette getting the bulk of the carries was Ronald Jones wasn't quite there yet. But again, now with the 2 weeks to get ready, there's a lot kind of left into the ether as to how they're going to go about doing all that. And I old habits die hard. I tend to think that this coaching staff, especially a guy like Bruce Arians, kind of like, you know, not the most cutting edge dude when it comes to like play calling.
He's not making the calls.
It's like I'm pretty sure, you know, I think the default would be to go back to the 50-50 split. But I mean, you know, I would not bet. It would be an under or pass for me on Fournette.
It might be a while, too, right, Matt, before we see, I guess, a lot of books posting numbers on the rushing, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is another one, right? You're probably not sure, or at least I'm sure odds makers aren't very sure of how much they're going to go to him. This was a little bit of an outlier as far as not a lot of rushing props posted, but it could be like this for maybe a week or so, right?
You know we have a Super Bowl with Le'Veon Bell and LaShawn McCoy, right?
It's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It's amazing.
And we're not even talking about him.
Not even talking.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell, boy, did the Steelers sell high. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And then LaShawn McCoy is like just an afterthought.
Yeah, like we don't even talk about that guy. Yeah. And these are two guys that like 3 years ago were like studs, right in the middle of every single conversation we ever had about running backs.
Running backs falling off a cliff.
Yeah. So Fournette, I mean, so you're saying under or nothing. He had 55, I believe, against versus the Packers.
And this is why we're going to pay attention to the news, right? Like leading in here. And the reason I say under or nothing is if we were going today, because my hunch would be that they would go back to more of the 50-50 split between him and Jones. But maybe we find out towards the end of the week that Jones is, you know, I mean, look, it was a thigh injury and stuff. I mean, like that's a running back, I would imagine that's fairly serious and pretty hard to get over. So maybe we hear from a beat writer that, you know, he hadn't been practicing or didn't look the same in practice, or even they give us word that, you know, he's not doing as well. And then maybe you want to take a look at the over as opposed to the under. But, you know, with the information I have right now, it would certainly be an under.
Short of that information, not a prop you should gravitate towards.
But information you should keep your eye on as you're approaching these props. Let's take a look at the receiving props. Travis Kelce at 102.5 yards. Does that sound high? The over at -115, under at -143.
It is very high, but however, I mean, do you want to ever be holding?
It's only over nothing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you're Todd Bowles and you're thinking, okay, because if you take the Bill Belichick theory of we're going to take away what they do best. Problem is with the Chiefs, right? Pick your poison. It's like, well, if we take out Kelsey, there's Tyreek. If we take, it's like there's so many weapons. But I have to tell you, I almost think Travis Kelsey is proof on a lot. Like he is almost the cheat code. And every time he catches them, first of all, how many games in a row has it been where he's caught at least 7 passes? Right? He has a massive streak of that. And every one of his catches seems to be a double-digit one right in the center of the field. For me, it's over and nothing. And I might
12 games. At
12
least 7
in a row. Thank you.
12.
So for me, as high as that is, let's put it this way: in the debate between Kelsey versus Hill, I would much rather take the Kelsey part of that.
Sure.
Even though Hill can break one off on one particular catch and get 70 just like that, but Kelsey's the surer thing to me.
Okay. What about Chris Godwin? His
Wait a
prop
minute.
came through.
Are we certainly not under minus 200 on Tyreek Hill?
That
Under
can't be the
91
right
and a half?
number.
Okay, just making sure because I'm like, they're certainly that can't be the number because that would be very mispriced. That would be very mispriced on one side or the other. There.
What do you think about the Bucs up there, though?
I mean, look. Well, first and foremost, I think Hill again with the way that the Bucs play defense. I like the over on Tyreek Hill, because I think that they're going to have to play. I think you have to go into this understanding you need to play high variance defense against Patrick Mahomes. Like I think you're going to have to blitz him and try and get some errant throws here and there and all that stuff. But what that also does is leave you really, really vulnerable to big plays, especially in one-on-one coverage with a guy like Tyreek Hill, right? And so even as high as that number is at 91, I mean, I kind of like the over. I think that he has a really good chance to break a couple of big plays in this game. So on the Bucs side of things, though, that Evans number is too high. I would be on the under for sure on the Evans number. Godwin has become easily the number one receiver there, and
He's dropping a lot of balls lately.
it's so weird. It's so incredibly weird. And then even that Gronk number is weird, a little weird to me because Brate has become the number one receiving option in that offense. The only thing about Gronk is it seems like they find him for one big play a game. And so like he might literally only have 2 catches, but like might be able to get over that total, which is the only kind of problem with that number. A reception prop on Gronkowski under 2.5 would be all day long for me.
Okay, so when you're talking about Travis Kelsey, for example, we also have him with these anytime touchdown props, right? Or even a Rob Gronkowski, right? An anytime touchdown to me would be more interesting on Rob Gronkowski than a receiving yards prop, right? Because
So we have first touchdown scored and anytime touchdowns.
yes, so we have first in that first column there, and then anytime in the second column. So yeah, you look at Rob Gronkowski is plus 225 for anytime touchdown. That's something that's more interesting to me than maybe a receiving yards prop on him.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I would bet Kelsey at minus 175 with no compunction whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for anytime touchdown?
Anytime, yeah.
And as far as first touchdown, because I don't see it on there, which lets me know that it's a super high price. But again, one pass interference call gets the ball put on the 1 yard line, and Brady sneaks that 9 times out of 10. Right.
You want Tom Brady first touchdown?
So, I'm saying, I know I'm getting better than 30-1, on that. And so with first touchdown
35-1.
Yeah, so you're getting 35-1. And again, so you're one pass interference call away from getting the ball on the 1 yard line. And again, that is just what Tom Brady does. Like they get to the 1 yard line, Tom Brady sneaks it in. And like so at 35-1, I think that's at least fairly
35-1 first touchdown.
First touchdown.
Okay,
plus
what's anytime
plus
touchdown?
450 anytime. Or you could go 35-1 on him for the last touchdown too.
Is plus 450 enough to play anytime touchdown?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think I'd want a bigger price there. But Matt, I'd be willing to roll the dice on 35-1 for the first one.
Look, if they get the ball first, they, it's always like you say, you're getting the best version of the offense on the first drive whenever they've got the scripted plays and they think that this is how they're going to get the ball down the field. So if they were to get the ball first, you go down. Is it a shocker to think that you get a pass interference call on an Evans or on a Gronk or something like that in the end zone? Big dudes, with guys trying to maul them if they get open. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see a scenario where something like that plays out. But again, 35-1. If you want to have a fun ticket, I mean, it's not. We're not.
So this
First time
This
touchdown.
is sort of where this discussion. I know you're leaning on this too.
Right.
Are we trying to have fun? Or are we trying to make money? Right. That's a different
first
discussion.
time touchdown, there's no way you could know who that's going to be mathematically.
No. That's why it's literally right. Like there's
Right.
no. That's why like anytime touchdown, you can at least come to some sort of formula where as far as like anytime touchdown, first touchdown. Like I said, I mean, the luck of the coin flip.
Yeah, who's
like luck of the coin
Correct.
flip right off
That's
the bat.
huge. Yeah, that's everything with that.
Right.
So, but again, with the Super Bowl, I understand having a couple of just fun sweats in your in your pocket because you're like I said, you're sitting around with your buddies and you want to have some stuff to talk about.
I would play Brady first touchdown 35-1 for fun, and I would play Travis Kelce anytime touchdown to actually make money.
Yeah.
Minus 175.
Well, why can't it be both? Why can't we have fun and make
could
money?
be.
Okay.
So, like I said, you have got to bet some of the props in the big game. Now, one thing, I used to play in a private first-to-score league. It is really a lot of fun. But what I advise you to do is bet a small amount on, say, 4 players, okay? Take 2 of the favorites on the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, and then pick a couple of long shots. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. We've got more on Betting the Big Game with Brent coming up in just a moment. Betting the big game. And all of us who try to win money on the Super Bowl we dig into research and we find certain things that twist us one way or the other. But the other day, I found a fascinating stat regarding rematches. That is, teams that met during the regular season and then play each other again in the Super Bowl. And remember, this is a rematch this year. Kansas City went down to Tampa and hung on for a 27-24 win over the Bucs. And those of us, by the way, who gave 3.5, we are still suffering and reminding ourselves, never, ever give the hook, because that's how it closed. KC favored by 3.5. But here's the amazing stat, okay? No AFC team, and there have been 4, no AFC team has ever swept the regular season and the Super Bowl. Believe it, I'm going to take you through it. Back in 1990, the Buffalo Bills went into Giants Stadium in a low-scoring defensive struggle. They beat the New York Giants 17-13. Those two teams met again in the Super Bowl. Many of you recall what happened. Scott Norwood setting up for the winning field goal for the Buffalo Bills. I was giving the trophy out that day, and the commissioner and I, we couldn't figure out which locker room to go to until Scott's field goal went wide right. I can still see that field goal missing, and the Giants win it 20-19. 1993, another rematch. The Bills and the Cowboys. During the regular season, the Bills beat the Cowboys, coached by Jimmy Johnson, 13-10, but running back Emmitt Smith was a holdout and did not play in that game. They then met again in the Super Bowl. It was blowout city. Cowboys 30, Bills 13. Oh, yes, Emmitt Smith, he ran for 132 yards, and he was the MVP of that Super Bowl. 1999, another year I remember well. My old broadcast buddy Dick Vermeil had come out of retirement, year 3 with the St. Louis Rams. They were 6-0 during the regular season and went to Nashville, and the Titans ambushed them 24-21. The Titans led 21-0 in that game. Dick and the Rams rallied, but they could not win the game, and that was their first loss. They then met again in Atlanta. I'll never forget how freezing the weather was in that Super Bowl. The Rams win it 23-16, but everybody remembers the last play by the Titans in that game. Kevin Dyson reaching for the end zone as linebacker Mike Jones hauls him down a yard short, and Dick Vermeil and the Rams win the Super Bowl 23-16. So the AFC has lost the first 3 rematches. Now it's number 4, and we go back to 2007, one of the great games ever played. During the regular season, the Patriots had beaten the Giants 38-35. Eli Manning against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. The Giants win it 17-14, but what you remember most of all is the helmet catch. Tyree Jones just pressing the football against the helmet as he goes to the ground to keep that drive alive. When you take a look at that replay, that's one thing you should do. You should go back and take a look at some of the clips from some of these Super Bowls. I still can't believe how Eli Manning separated himself from the Patriot defenders. So there you are. The AFC is 0-4 coming into this game. And we know this is a rematch. We already talked about the fact the Chiefs won down in Tampa. Now, overall, I want you to think about the overall statistic. 13 rematches, 6-7 winners, less than 500. So let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There are a couple of things I don't want any of you to overlook, and that is the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are starting 2 different tackles than the 2 tackles they opened the season with, okay? That's right. Both of those tackles will be missing. Fisher, who was once a first draft choice, the first player picked, and Schwartz on the other side. But here's what I want you to listen to. This statistic regarding Eric Fisher, not this season, but a season ago and just before that. With Fisher in the starting lineup, the Chiefs were 11-0. Without him, they were 4-4. Do not overlook that stat. Fisher's not playing, it is very important. Now let's go to the Buccaneers beating the Packers in Green Bay. 5 sacks. 5 sacks by that Buccaneer defense. And where'd the pressure come from? Up the middle? No. It was those edge rushers. Remember that matchup. I'm not trying to talk you into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but what I am trying to tell you is do not be shocked if there's an upset in this Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have matchups. They have advantages in certain spots. But, of course, if Tyreek Hill goes as nuts as he did down at Tampa during the regular season, turn out the lights, baby. This party's over. We're going to continue in just a moment. Welcome back to Betting the Big Game. Tampa Bay with Tom Brady starting his 10th Super Bowl at the age of 43. Just amazing. And the new wonderkin, Patrick Mahomes, the defending Super Bowl champion. What a showdown between these two teams. So right now, let's catch up with Michael Lombardi and Patrick Maher to hear what they think about the upcoming big game on VSiN.
Now, remember, when it comes to the NFL playoffs, the favorites are 8-4 straight up so far, and the dogs are 7-5 ATS. Now, the road teams are 7-5 ATS as well, and that brings us to the big game, Michael, because the Buccaneers become the first team to host the Super Bowl. So we do have a road team in the Super Bowl, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs there, laying 3 on the road.
You know, my first NFL Super Bowl in my first year in the National Football League was 1984, and we played the Miami Dolphins really a home game for us. We practiced in Redwood City, and we played the game at Stanford Stadium, the old Stanford Stadium that held 100,000 people or 80,000 people before they did the remodel. So, that was like a home game for us. And we obviously, I think we beat Miami 38-17, won the game. We ended up the season 18-1. Won the Super Bowl, so the advantages were tremendous. I mean, the Super Bowl was much different then than it is now. But the Bucs being able to stay at home and use their own locker room and have their own facilities and not travel, they can spend a lot more time focusing and concentrating on a truly biggest challenge that they will face all season as they look back. They'll go back and watch the game they played, that they really never were in the game, yet they were able to close it to cover or push that game. So, this is a huge step for the Bucs. And I think the fact that we know there's some injuries on the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, that's going to make a huge difference in this game.
Yeah, of course, Fisher out with the Achilles. I want to get into the first half side and total with you in just a second. Now, we mentioned it's going to be a home game for the Bucs, road game for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. How about the idea there's going to be 22.5, right around 22,500 people allowed to attend the game? We have seen there is some added juice, obviously, with these fans in the stands.
No doubt. I mean, look, I mean, they said that. How many were there the other week at Green Bay? I mean, it felt like there was a lot more in there.
It
seemed like a lot more.
80,000. Just the contrast.
When I watched the Kansas City game, I thought there were, it felt like the big red machine was out there. So look, I do think it matters. But one thing we do know from watching all these playoff games through the year, the quarterback can communicate really fairly easy. There's some noise and there's some momentum, but the quarterback can communicate. When you look back on the championship weekend and you remember the interception, the momentum that was gained, and then they got another interception and they went 3 plays and out, then 3 plays and out. Had that been, I think, with a full stadium, maybe that momentum would have carried them through. And I think that's the part we missed. Sometimes the momentum helps these NFL teams carry them through some adversity.
Let's take a look at the first half line, Super Bowl, as it's posted. 2.5, you see the number there, 2.5 with Kansas City laying it. And then you see a total, Michael, of 27.5. That's exactly what I expected, the total, right around what we expected for the side as well. So Kansas City 2.5, total 27.5. What jumps out now? 2020, Kansas City's averaging about 15.7 in the first half, and Tampa Bay's just a tick behind it, 15.6 points per in the first half.
Well, I think this. My numbers, I have Tampa at 13.1 and Kansas City 11.6 in first half points. So maybe I'm a little different. I'll go with your numbers, but I do think in the first quarter they both average right around 4 points a first quarter. They both get that. Now, what you're thinking there is you're going to get a touchdown. So let's say you're going to get Kansas City never gets more than 9 drives in a game. Right?
Yeah.
They had 1 drive in the first quarter when they played Buffalo at home. So, they get 9. Say you get 4 in the first quarter. What you're saying is Kansas City's going to score 2 of those drives. They're going to score touchdowns.
Right.
You're also saying that Tampa's going to come back and score at least 2 of those 4 drives or 3 drives. Tampa's got to slow the pace down. I think they've got to slow it down. They've got to control it, unlike Buffalo, which didn't. So, I might lean under there a little bit, Patrick. I really might lean under. I think it's got to be a pace game.
Yeah, and again, I think mine bumped up a little bit because of the 21, respectively. They both scored. Remember, Kansas City scored 21 unanswered, and they're second in the conference championship.
You might have the playoffs in your number.
Yep, I do,
100%. You probably have the
Yeah, because,
okay,
Michael,
I have the regular season.
Yeah, pardon me, because last 3, Kansas City scored 18 in the first half, and Tampa Bay scored 17.3. So I got the playoffs worked into there as well.
Well, Michael and Patrick talked about this being the first time that a Super Bowl team will be playing in its home stadium. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in Raymond James Stadium. One thing I want you to remember about this, I do not think this home field advantage is as great as it might have been if the Kansas City Chiefs had spent an entire week in a hotel down in Florida. That's not the case. The NFL changed the rules because of the COVID pandemic, and the Chiefs are not traveling to Florida until the day before the game. That's right. They're resting at home. They've got a lot more privacy in their practices. I want you to keep that in mind. Now, This is a great venue here at Circa. You can see the odds board behind me changing whenever too much money comes in on the Chiefs or maybe more money on the Buccaneers. This is a tremendous venue. So let's go to Matt Humans, who is with the owner, Derek Stevens, and, of course, the legend himself, Mike Palm. Take it away, Matty.
Let's talk about the Super Bowl. What you've seen in terms of betting action so far, what you expect, and what sort of promotions you're going to offer at Circa Sports.
Well, right now, that everybody kind of came in, and early on they took that 3.5 on the Bucs. Right now, we've been sitting at 3 with Kansas City juiced minus 120, and it's been holding tight. So, right now we're in that point. The 2-week period before the Super Bowl, kind of where you start baselining your number. For us to get off of 3, that means there's going to be a pretty major move. I mean, it's the same way for everyone at this point in time.
Can you talk about the squares? Because that's something you don't see at other sports books.
Yeah, the squares, we came up with it last year. You got to come up with 100 different outcomes and set the opening odds on that, and then people are going to bet them. We wrote 6 figures to it last year. People making tons of bets on. They love this. They get to pick their own square. And now we've come out with them earlier this year, even a week earlier, to give people an opportunity to get down. You see an example of it on your screen. Now, Derek's been tracking the square movements. I mean, he doesn't have much to do, so he can get into the minutia.
Yeah, I've been watching the moves here. This is one of those things. Maybe we got smart about this. The Circa Squares, that was something we went out, and before we brought it out, we actually patented this, and we trademarked the name, and yeah, we had a hell of a lot of action on this thing last year.
Thanks, guys. Really looking forward to the game. And the sports book here at Circa behind me, that is a 3-story book. It'll be jammed. People enjoying the action all game long. And we will continue with Betting the Big Game on VSiN. You know, the day at VSiN starts at 7 a.m. Oh, yeah, that's 4 a.m. Pacific time. But Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard are must listen, okay? Especially in the run-up to the big game. Let's join them right now.
All right, let's go. Prop time, baby, and creative ones. Let's go.
I got lost in the DraftKings app last night for a couple of hours. Man, they had a lot of props already available. So they have all the touchdown scores up already. First, last, anytime. Brady Mahomes touchdown passes, to score 2+ touchdowns, to score 3+ touchdowns.
I have found a prop I don't like. I don't like first touchdown with will they win the game. At least I wouldn't bet that. That's just
that to me is not.
No, I don't want to sit and if I have the guy to score the first touchdown, bleep you, pay me.
Exactly right.
I mean, go to Goodfellas. I don't want to say I got to wait and see if I win the game. I know there's a difference in prices, but that I would never bet that.
No, I would not recommend betting that at all. It's too difficult to pull off. Total players to attempt a pass. It's over 2.5 plus 140. Under is minus 177. That's just to attempt a pass. To complete a pass, over 2.5 is plus 215. Who's that third person going to be?
Didn't Pittsburgh use Brown? Didn't Brown throw a pass before?
I have to go back and look at his career stats. I know they did with Antoine Randall a long time ago. Like, that was part of the overall game plan. I had him, by the way. I had that in the Super Bowl against the Lions. That never came in. And I think it was, will Antoine Randall throw a pass, catch a pass, and run the football?
Against Seattle, you mean?
Two of them came in Detroit against Seattle, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was a creative one. First Tampa Bay kickoff to result in a touchback. Yes, minus $4. No, plus 290.
Wow.
Chiefs touchback. We got a good tweet on this, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier on. I did not look at the overall percentages yet. This is from @MLDogs on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Chiefs, number 5 in touchback percentage at 74.2%. Buccaneers, number 2 at 84.2%. So he thinks the minus $3 plus 230 or whatever is probably an accurate number. Okay.
They better boom it out of the end zone. You have the angle where it's, hey, I'm going to start this game off with a bang, and I'm so juiced up, jacked up, I'm bringing it out.
Yep. Will either team successfully recover an onside kick attempt at DraftKings? The yes is 25-1.
Wow, there we go. All right. Very difficult, not impossible, like Hyman Roth at the airport, but it happened last week. Good.
I just want to find onside kick attempt. Successful is, another animal altogether.
Okay.
How about this? It's up. Will any field goal or extra point attempt hit the uprights or crossbar?
Beautiful.
The yes is 4-1. The no is minus 625.
There it is. There it is. Beautiful. Good job, John.
And this is why Super Bowl, watching it in a public place, in a sports book, whatever, is so awesome. Because if that comes in, the entire public is going to be on the yes. And the roars you're going to get from a doink in the Super Bowl will be deafening for like 10 seconds.
And I like the yes. That was happening every week.
Now, you can bet these.
I don't know what the right odds are, but that's, it's probably supposed to be higher than that, but obviously, but still.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good sweat.
Will either team miss a field goal attempt?
Oh.
The yes is even money. No, minus 124.
Suck-up had issues.
Oh, Bucker's good for one right away.
Yes, he is.
You can also bet a miss extra point. The yes is plus 230, minus 305 on the no.
And put one of them up the upright. Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Now, I remember this was at CG Technology a couple of years ago. There was a guy who came in and bet like 100. I don't know what he won. Probably a cup of coffee. There was a guy who bet $100,000. No, the opening kickoff will not be returned for a touchdown. They had that up.
Is that right?
So they have 70-1. Yes, but there was a no offered at one book, and the guy laid it.
Well, I wish the no's were offered on all of this stuff. That's amazing. How about they have this? We talked about this earlier in the week. A punt to be down inside the 5.
There you go.
The yes is plus 355. The no minus $5.
Yeah, William Mills had that for a couple of years.
And this is very good. Either team not to punt. I wanted this in the national title game with Bama and Ohio State. The yes is 6-1. How many times? Matt, can you look that up? How many times did the Chiefs punt last week? I think it was I'm not going to guess. It was a very small number, if any at all. But the yes on that is 6-1. And Pauly, with a Tom Brady team, and we talked about that game against Carolina. It's an outlier. We get it, but it happened twice in that game, a scoreless quarter. How he's been so, they've been incapable of scoring a lot of points as with him as a quarterback, with the Patriots running away in the first quarter. Any quarter to end scoreless, yes is 7-1, no is more than minus $16.
And we just got a text. Antonio Brown threw a pass in the 2018 playoffs with Pittsburgh. There you go.
He did, okay.
And the Chiefs punted once last week.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks, Matt. And thanks to Ian for the text.
And remember how they went.
There's your guy. You wanted your guy? There's your guy. He's left-handed too, I believe?
Yeah.
There's another one. Okay. You wouldn't be surprised. Come around, end around. There you go. There's your guy, Brown. You wanted a guy? You got a guy. I gave you a name.
And that could knock out the Philly special, too. Well, people are asking for that. I don't know how you'd put that up because of the lingo and everything involved, but I love it. Very creative. A lot of fun.
How about, did you do this? Will an offensive lineman score a touchdown? 20-1. Will an offensive or defensive lineman score a touchdown? 8-1. These are at DraftKings.
Okay.
This is that's great, and I like I like the winning margin. Will Kansas City win by 13-18, plus 650? Will Tampa win by between 1 and 6 points, plus 325? Will Tampa win between 13 and 18, 12-1? What did Seattle do to Denver that year? 43-8 or something?
Yeah.
What was what's 35 or more? 90-1. If that would happen. If the school's out. Kansas City to win between 37 and 43 or more is 120-1 for the Chiefs and 225-1 for the Buccaneers. Maybe we should check it out again with a team scored 3 points.
I think the Seahawks game was like 22-0 at halftime. And then Percy Harvin scored.
What a way! He returns the kickoff, and then how it started.
Oh,
how about how many people were tweeting with the Steeler Brown? Has a playoff game ever started like that before? Remember the bad snap?
Yes.
Remember the Seattle Denver Super Bowl right over Manning's head. Safety. What was that? 100-1. Place was going crazy.
Yeah.
First score of the game, safety was like 100-1.
Yep. Didn't Kevin Nealon used to be a character on SNL called Mr. Short-Term Memory Loss or something like that? It's remarkable. How would you forget that? It happened 5-6 years ago in the Super Bowl. Has it ever happened before? Yes, not that long ago, in fact.
Has a playoff game started like that before?
God.
That was a good one.
Oh, I just knew it. I knew that it would be Pauly who would bet that prop on a field goal hitting the crossbar or the upright. You bet. He wants to collect on that one. Pauly Howard would be the guy. Great job, guys. Right now, we want to join Danielle. We want an update on the best bets from the staff here at VSiN. Danielle?
Thanks, Brent. Well, we have gathered together all of the best bets for the big game from our VSiN hosts and analysts. Let's kick it off with Mitch Moss from Follow the Money. He's taken Patrick Mahomes as the MVP at plus 100 or even money. Then, of course, Matt Humans from My Guys in the Desert, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. He's got first score of the game as a field goal / any other at plus 195. Gill Alexander from Primetime Action and a numbers game in the mornings on VSiN has a Travis Kelce anytime touchdown at minus 175. James Salinas taking the under on the 56.5. Brady Cannon has a two-team 6.5 point teaser. He's teased the Bucs up to plus 10 and the total up to 63.5, taking the under on that 63.5. Wes Reynolds has seen that Chris Godwin has dropped a couple more passes than usual lately. He thinks he's going to have under 77.5 receiving yards. Tim Murray riding the Chiefs with the money line at minus 165. Danny Burke also on the Chiefs, but the spread. He's taken Chiefs -3, along with Ben Fox and Kelly Bidlin. And Adam Candy is taking Tyreek Hill over 1.5 rushing attempts. So there you have it. Those are VSiN's best bets for the big game. And remember, a wise man once said, cash and tickets is what it's all about. Now let's send you back to that wise man.
Thanks, Danielle. You bet. Cash and tickets is what it's all about. And last September, as the season was getting underway, I saw a prop on an early Super Bowl line the AFC was favored by 2.5, okay? I thought to myself, if the Chiefs win the AFC, they'll be more than 2.5. And I also had the Baltimore Ravens at that time. I didn't know how good they might be during the course of the season, and the Tennessee Titans. So I jumped on that particular number, and I'm glad I did, because if you like the Chiefs, I don't think you'll see it ever again. One final bit of advice from Brent. When you make your decision on the game, pick your quarterback and bet him as the MVP. Is there anybody out there who thinks that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this Super Bowl without Tom Brady being the MVP? Or that the Kansas City Chiefs can win their second in a row without Patrick Mahomes being the MVP? It's a quarterback award. Remember that. Hey, listen, I hope you've enjoyed it. We have got so many great commentators at VSiN, and they've got so many great ideas about betting the big game. I want to wish you the best of luck. It doesn't get any better than Super Sunday here on VSiN.
Get all the big game betting action with a 24/7 free preview of VSiN, the sports betting network, right now at vsin.com. Watch all our betting analysis, and when the game kicks off, join our live in-game BetCast, hosted by Gill Alexander, with a poolside halftime update from Circus Swim and post-game analysis with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard. Watch VSiN free right now at vsin.com. Every day brings another opportunity to improve your sports betting knowledge. Subscribe today to gain access to the full betting experience of our team of professional bettors, expert guests, and sportsbook insiders. Get the data and analysis you need to improve your sports betting IQ. Start your free trial today at vsin.com/subscribe and take your sports betting game to the next level.